Good afternoon. How are you today? Well, it's beautiful out. It's a little windy, but it feels good. It's not hot. I spent a little time at Johns Hopkins today. Holly walked around the hospital, and out of precaution, after she got out and she didn't have the strength, we would use chairs, and we didn't today. She walked everywhere in her own steam. She didn't agree with my invitation to run a 440 down one hallway, but other than that, she was pretty strong. This evening we have the first hearing of the January 6th Select Committee, and people are talking about all the things that may be said, and I guess there are some leaks and some proposals and so forth. But I thought I'd give you my frame of reference for what I look for in this hearing and how I might arrange it. If you agree with me, you can compare this evening when the show starts broadcasting at 8 o'clock, whether you agree with that or not. Ari has arranged for a bunch of people to be in New York in the studio there to comment on the show. I am not in New York. I wish I were. I'd like to be part of this. I may be part of it on Monday when they have the second hearing. But the point is, what would you do in this case? Now, what I have devised is a method of analyzing a case, any case. And it's not peculiar to me. So for instance, if you have 100 facts on the table, with experience in deciding what's important and what's not important, you can pick out those facts, say 3 of them that are material, that tell the whole story. This is a particular talent that's absolutely necessary for this hearing, because they say they have 1,000 witnesses, and they can't all be equal, for one thing. And they have tapes, videotapes of depositions, so that's a lot of material. And they have 100,000 documents, pages of documents to go through. So the question is, how do you take from that what's necessary to prove the case? And my rule of thumb in this case would be not to get caught up in what you think is the stronger pieces of evidence about Joe Blow, say Navarro, for example, Pete Navarro, unless it is pertinent to the following topic. Does it say anything about the culpability of the head of the snake, Trump? If it doesn't make the cut. And this is not a very stern measure when you consider that this hearing is only going to be on for 2 hours, or at least that's what they say. So in those 2 hours, you shouldn't lose a single minute. For example, and I don't know if they're going to do this or not, I would not start with an officer who was damaged or hurt in the course of the invasion on the Hill, because I don't think that's the lead. The lead is a presidential candidate who lost, who knew he lost, set about overturning the election by corrupt and illegal means and unconstitutional means, supported by the members of his own staff, people on the Hill, representatives across the country in different state governments. And we're going to look into that and discuss it today in the short time we have as the opening hearings on the insurrection of January the 6th, something like that. So I wouldn't have the guard come on and appeal to empathy or sympathy. The issue, I think, here, and it's really only one issue and it's very simple. Are we a democracy that follows the law and the Constitution? Or are we an autocracy in which power dominates and we rule by fiat, doing whatever we want? That's it. Those are the themes. Now, another question is, what are we going to do with this information when we finish? The public should not be left in the dark, not if you want their support. And so one answer should be, we're going to identify the crimes that were violated, and we're going to commend them to prosecutors, federal and state, to pursue these criminals, traitors to America, for what they tried to do when they tried to effect a coup. While the prosecutions of the people on the street who came up here at the behest of Trump and others are important to the case, they are not the case. The greatest offenders are those who have the benefit of access to power, and they abused it in such a fashion as to almost destroy our republic. So those are the kinds of themes you should look for. Also, they have to be very careful, investigators do this all the time, of burying the strongest message in details of things they understand that no one's known before, and for that reason they think we should all know it. That's not what we need. We need an ability to helicopter up to 2,000 feet for some discussions and to be at 10 feet for others. What would be an example of 10 feet? An example of 10 feet would be the tape recording of Trump himself trying to rearrange the votes in Georgia, demanding that he get all the votes that Biden got, by which Biden beat Trump, plus one vote, and that's almost his precise wording, and to describe what a crime that is. So the selection of the information, as I started at the beginning, is critically important, and a person who has the judgment to do that is the person who designs this presentation. Now, some say this is political. Well, I don't know. If a coup isn't political, I don't know what is. If a coup isn't political and prohibited by the Constitution and by the laws of the land and by the demeanor and the history of a nation, then what is the response? I think the response is lawful. I think the response is to cut out of the heart of America this cancer that would kill the democracy that we fought for with blood and treasure for so many years, that has given birth to rights that didn't exist at our founding, that has fought to preserve them so that all men and women are equal, not discriminated against, not run down. The fact that it has Republicans on the committee is a statement. But I am hoping and I expect that Cheney will keep us on target. I'm hoping those who know the best, the law, and I'm talking about Raskin and others, that they will keep us on target and keep reminding us it's Trump, 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 and he violated the law and he compromised our democracy. And if we weren't so resilient, if the vice president hadn't resisted the temptation to give himself a do-over in the election by ignoring the Constitution and going into the question of electors, so that the question of electors was fuzzy. Also, one of the recommended legislations that some say they're going to come out of it is they're going to write legislation to clear up electors. Electors were clear, and to even suggest that it's unclear is to give an argument to the Republicans that, see, it was more complicated than they thought. When people look for something to do, they should look for something that's material and important. So those are a couple of my thoughts. I expect that you'll hear a lot before the presentation this evening, and I'm going to watch it. And I'm going to, in my mind, probably compare it to Watergate. Ira Robbins and I were law clerks when the original hearings were held, and we had our fixes every day watching the hearings. So it'll be something to look at this. So good talking to you, and I'll talk to you tomorrow after the hearing. Bye-bye.